Hello, and welcome into my service learning presentation. My name is Matthew Tarver. I served at Project Join Hope and also at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. The organization name, location, and who it serves is Project Join Hope, located in Pasadena, Texas. They serve families going through a struggle with very ill children. Their vision is to be a safety net and keep families together when tragedy strikes. My responsibilities on the 2 days that I helped was to help move auction items one day, and then the next helping with the silent and live auctions. So one of the things that I noticed was definitely some OT core values. The first would be altruism, which is giving without expecting anything in return. And that was definitely in full show that night. Everyone was being very generous, paying money for, they were paying money and they were getting something in return, but the value usually would be higher on the payment instead of the goods themselves. So generosity was very much in full show. Uh, everyone felt like, it felt like everyone was giving in a sense that they wanted to help, not to be greedy. The next core value would be dignity. Every person has value. I never felt put down or anything like that being a volunteer. And I never felt like any of the families that we were helping, even though like none of them were there, it never felt like they were a charity case or anything like that. But rather that everyone was honored to be a part of something to help them. And then the last core value would be truth, which is honesty and authenticity. And the way that that was present was because the two sort of leaders of the organization, Shelley Fuller and Jan Wheeler, they put a presentation upon how their organization came to be, which is essentially was their daughters meeting in the oncology ward. Their daughters were both affected by cancer, and essentially that's where it all began. I won't go into too much detail. There is uh, facts out there about it, but it was a very good story. It made me tear up. I didn't know the full extent of how their organization came to be, and so whenever they put on that presentation, it definitely made me feel better being a part of their gala even more. I felt even more like attached than I had. So next, interprofessional collaboration, which is where multiple professions will coordinate to create a meaningful event, in this case, or maintain efficacy with workflows, essentially just trying to reach some sort of goal. Many different professions collaborated that night to create this wonderful event, including the employees of Project Join Hope. As few as they were very impactful in coordinating and planning the logistics overall of the event. The hotel staff for serving food and catering the event very effectively. And then the volunteers who helped with the auction aspects and, filled in the gaps, helped move items for people. So many different professions, or a few different professions, coming together to create a very wonderful event for the night. Conflict management was also present there. There wasn't too many conflicts. There was only one that I was noticed or saw. And conflict management is the ability to recognize, address and resolve disagreements. There was an instance where one gentleman was upset that the basketball that he bought, the glass case that it came in, didn't have a top glass pane. And so we recognized his discomfort. We addressed sort of solutions for him, which basically all he wanted was the top glass case aspect. And there was another basketball auction item, and we asked the gentleman that had purchased that one if he would be okay trading the cases so that the other guy would be happy, and he was fine with it. And so the situation was resolved, and everyone basically left feeling better. Maybe not the guy without the glass top case, but he didn't seem to mind that much and was just happy to help. Moving along, leadership principles, the ability to guide others effectively and earnestly, are definitely in full view. In this picture below, the very left lady, Jan Wheeler, and then the very right, Shelley Fuller, both very influential figures in their organization, very strong leaders. When they grouped up all the volunteers, and on the right you can see the instructions that they gave us uh, for the night, and they were very clear and direct with their communications. But also, they weren't afraid to, maybe crack a joke here or there, lighten the mood, make it not feel so serious for everyone. And I think those are definitely some very good principles to have, being able to maintain a good atmosphere while also addressing and delegating tasks and responsibilities. So very, very good leadership principles on show. Therapeutic use of self, the ability to use one's own personality, communication, empathy, and presence to enhance therapeutic outcomes in an environment. Now, obviously, I didn't give any therapy to anybody, but my body language was open. I was making eye contact, smiling, answering any questions that anybody had for me to the best of my ability, or directing them to somebody that could. And yeah, definitely a big use of that. And you could see it in the other volunteers as well. Everyone was trying to just do their part, and the caterers as well. It was just a very good use of self. Now, social and occupational justice. Social, every person deserves equal opportunities. And occupational, people have a right to engage in meaningful occupations. Social justice was present in the form of, supporting the families and, with the resources that they don't have in order to provide them with more occupational justice as well, in the form of the TULIP Project, and allowing them to live in a place that's closer to where the hospitals are, so they don't have to constantly be worrying about travel times and maybe getting a hotel or something. So in those two aspects, justice was definitely served. Now, in conclusion, overall, I enjoyed my experience. I feel like I was honored to have been a part of something that was so much bigger than me, and it has touched so many lives in such a great way. I definitely, I might go next year if they invite me. I would definitely be open to volunteering more for them. It was a very good organization. It felt good to help them. Um, and it was just a fun night. Just the whole '70s theme. It was a lot of afros, a lot of uh, hippie attire, a lot of tie dye and sparkly suits. It was a very cool event. Professional communication is an area that I feel like I grew in because reaching out isn't something I normally would do, but it worked out great getting in contact with Jan Wheeler. And I feel like I also grew in leadership awareness after watching both of them run the night in the way that they did. It was just very, very inspiring in a way. And I think that I also lended myself to their organization pretty well, as I was a warm presence and a helping hand, which reflects their organization. When one personality or one personal factor of mine that made me feel that way is my personality, because I tend to be a very kind and patient person, which is what the organization echoes. The site, I would say, was meeting occupational needs of individuals, especially in the Project Tulip houses, because it allows families to be closer to each other whenever they are going to the hospital or care facilities. And finally, one influence occupational therapy could potentially have on the site would be maybe more games for the children to play at the Tulip Project. I never went in there, so I don't know, but I feel like kids do tend to get bored with things easily, and so having, many different options to choose from might only be beneficial in the end. And here are the references, and that is my presentation. Thank you for watching.